Welcome to The Explainer. We tend to think of loneliness as just a feeling, right? Something that's all in your head. But what if it was way more than that? What if it was a real physical threat, something as dangerous to your body as smoking a pack of cigarettes every single day? Well, today, we're going to unpack the science that proves it.
Okay, let's just start with a statement that is truly staggering. For social smarts, this is one of those facts that you hear and it just stops you in your tracks. The U.S. Surgeon General has officially stated that a lack of social connection is as bad for your health as a heavy smoking habit. That's not some fringe idea. That's a major public health declaration. So let's get into the science behind that claim. For settlers. Now, before we go any further, it is absolutely crucial that we get our terms straight because this is where a lot of people get confused. Here's the simple version. Loneliness and social isolation are two totally different things. Social isolation is just the objective fact of being alone, the number of people you see. But loneliness, that's the subjective feeling of being alone. It's that distress you feel inside when you don't have the connection you crave. You can be surrounded by people at a party and feel incredibly lonely. It's that feeling of loneliness that we're talking about today.
So how on earth can a simple feeling be so physically destructive? Well, to find the answer, we have to look way, way back, deep into our own evolutionary past.
This right here is the central mystery we are going to solve. The idea that an emotion, something you just feel, can cause real, measurable damage to your body, it sounds almost impossible. But it turns out the biological reasons for it are startlingly clear.
And the secret is hiding in a pattern that's been written into our DNA for thousands and thousands of years. See, our species didn't survive because we were the biggest or the fastest. We survived because we were the best at working together. We are what scientists call ultra-social animals, hardwired from the very beginning to depend on our tribe for safety and survival.
So here's the absolute key point. Loneliness isn't just a sad feeling. It is a biological alarm system. Think about it like hunger or thirst. When you're hungry, your body sends you a painful signal that says, hey, you need food to survive. Loneliness evolved to be the exact same kind of thing, a painful, urgent, aversive signal designed to scream at you, warning, you are unsafe. Go find your people now.
Okay, so what happens when that ancient alarm bell, which was designed for short-term dangers out on the savannah, gets stuck in the on position in our modern world? Well, your body basically goes into a permanent code red. For strategists, when loneliness becomes a chronic state, it's not just a bad mood. It triggers a very predictable and incredibly dangerous three-step cascade that starts to systematically tear your body apart. First, the stress. Then, the breakdown of your body's defenses. And finally, widespread systemic damage. It all starts with your body's main stress response system, what's known as the HPA axis. The constant threat signal coming from that feeling of loneliness kicks the system into overdrive. It just floods your body with the stress hormone cortisol. And this isn't a quick spike of stress. It's a slow, constant, corrosive drip that keeps your body in a state of perpetual fight or flight. And over time, being bathed in all that cortisol starts to dismantle your body's defenses. It triggers this chronic, low-grade inflammation all through your system, which is a key driver of almost every major disease we know of. At the same time, it actually suppresses your immune cells, which makes you more vulnerable to getting sick. It can even make vaccines less effective.
And this is where we see the real-world long-term damage. All of that chronic inflammation and constant stress is a direct assault on your cardiovascular system. It leads to a staggering 29% increased risk of developing heart disease for people who experience chronic loneliness.
And it doesn't stop with the heart. The risk of having a stroke also skyrockets by 32%. I mean, these numbers are just a crystal clear reminder that loneliness is not just in your head. It's a major risk factor for some of our biggest physical killers.
But the damage isn't just happening from the neck down. Chronic loneliness also rewires the brain itself, mounting a silent attack on our memories and our very sense of self.
For explorers. Now here is an almost unbelievable insight that very few people talk about. Among older adults, chronic loneliness is linked to an approximately 50% increased risk of developing dementia. That makes it one of the single most significant risk factors for cognitive decline that we know of. So you have to be asking, how is that possible? Well, it's not just some vague correlation.
Using brain imaging, scientists have actually found that people who are lonely have higher levels of something called amyloid beta proteins in their brains. And those are the toxic, sticky plaques that are the absolute hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. And it's not just the plaques. Loneliness is also linked to a greater buildup of tau protein tangles, which is the other main culprit in Alzheimer's. So the bottom line is this. The feeling of loneliness appears to physically accelerate the destructive changes in the brain that lead to this absolutely devastating disease. And all of this leads to what is maybe the most vicious part of the whole cycle. The physical damage that loneliness causes actually creates a trap that makes it even harder to escape from. For social smarts, this is the part that is just so relatable. If you've ever been in a lonely period in your life, you know it can feel almost impossible to break out of. Well, it turns out your own biology is actively working against you. The physical changes happening in your body actually push you toward more and more isolation. For strategists, this table really shows that devastating cause and effect chain. It's a feedback loop. See, loneliness raises cortisol, which messes up your sleep, which makes you too tired to go out. It increases your hunger hormone, which can lead to overeating. Your immune system gets weaker, so you get sick more often, keeping you at home. And it creates cognitive issues like brain fog, which makes socializing feel like a huge effort. Each biological response creates a behavior that just reinforces the loneliness. It's a perfect, tragic trap. And that brings us to a final, really provocative question. Our bodies, our very biology, evolved over millions of years with a fundamental need for deep social connection. So as our world moves more and more online, more remote, are we accidentally engineering a society that goes against our deepest biological programming? Understanding the real, physical price of loneliness has never, ever been more important.
If this touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family. Save this for more meaningful content ahead.